morning. Thank you all. Good morning once again on Tuesday, March 5th. We are gathering for our committee chairs meeting to prepare for our board meeting just 3 short weeks from now. It will be here before we know it. So welcome to everyone and to anyone who has dialed in to listen or joining us on the live stream. Welcome to you as well. Before I call on the Chancellor for her opening remarks, Mariah, why don't we go ahead and call the roll this rainy morning and get these pieces of business behind us, if you will.
I'd be glad to. Since this is an electronic meeting, there are 2 questions that need to be answered by regents for the record. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both questions. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. When I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. Governor Lee, Regent Apple.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Burdine, and he'll be joining us a little later this morning. Regent Garten.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Gentile. Regent George.
Here, yes to both questions.
Regent Gill.
Here and yes to both questions.
Commissioner Hatcher. Regent Hooper.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Kastner.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Pilkington. Regent Powers. Regent Powers, are you here with us?
Mariah, she put in the chat that she was logging off and coming back on, and maybe I just let her back in. Maybe if she can't hear, there's Regent Powers. So I'll be quiet.
Thank you. I just popped in. Sorry about that, guys.
Good. Regent Powers, can you confirm if you can hear and speak with us as well as you being alone in the room?
Yes to both.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair Reynolds.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Roberts.
Here, and I can hear. My daughter is home from school today because her school is a voting center. So she is kind of here, just tangential, kind of off in the corner of the room.
Thank you. Can you confirm her first name?
Quinn, Quinn.
Thank you. Regent Stevenson, I see you've just joined. Can you confirm that you can hear and speak with us as well as being alone in the room?
Yes.
Yes to both questions?
Yes to both questions. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Regent Spurgeon? Regent Varlin?
Here and yes to both. And I also have a little 2-year-old homesick today with me. So if she's got a stomach virus, so if you can't hear me, I'll be back.
Yes. Can you confirm their name?
Her name is Phoebe, Phoebe. She's all of 2.5, so I'm sure she'll understand.
Yes, thank you. And Regent White.
Here, yes to both. No kids, no grandkids, no animals down here with me.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, your board is assembled. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom is a lonely man over there this morning.
Yep.
As you all know, we have one more piece of business to take care of, and that's affirming our necessity to meet electronically. Of course, this has become an economically efficient way for us to meet at a time when these matters require timely review by the board prior to our quarterly meeting at the end of the month. Given that this necessity to meet electronically is a routine and non-controversial item, I would propose we adopt this by unanimous consent. Of course, as always, if you would prefer an individual roll call vote, feel free to object. Is there any objection to the necessity to meet electronically to be adopted by unanimous consent? Hearing none, thank you. The motion is adopted. Opening remarks by Chancellor Tidings. We were all together last week in a very productive session. I know there's still a great deal going on. And Chancellor, you guys, I've asked her to briefly address, since this is getting so much media play, the impact on the slowness of what was supposed to be, right, a more efficient FAFSA form for folks to fill out, but the difficulties in that process to date, and what, if any, impacts has that meant to our students as they begin to apply for the summer and fall? So, Chancellor, get to that in the order in which you deem appropriate, but the floor is yours.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's so good to see everyone's smiling faces today. I'm going to start off again just thanking the board members that served on the presidential searches that we did vote on last week. Special thanks again to Regent Varlin and Regent Powers for chairing those committees. Wanted to let you know that Chris Ayers started March 1st at TCAT Harriman, so we voted on that just in the nick of time to get him on the job. Dr. Andy White will begin his duties on April 1st, and Mayor John Ridgway will begin his duties on July 1st. And just if everyone would remember to keep Mayor Ridgway in his thoughts and prayers, his father did pass away this week. So if you'll please remember him and his family. I will go ahead and address the FAFSA issue that Regent Reynolds brought up and talk to you just a little bit about how that is impacting TBR. For most of you are aware that there were some major changes to this, and a lot of that is due to our very own congressman that worked so hard to make this happen. But it's called the FAFSA Simplification Act. And it is designed to be more streamlined in an application process that will expand federal financial aid. The intent was to create a better experience for the FAFSA team. But you know, with government, and it's how all good things are intended, they don't always roll out quite as simply as we would like for them to do. One of the major changes is a move away from what's called the expected family contribution to a student aid index, or an SAI. And the formula change could possibly mean more Pell dollars for some of our students. So we do see that as a very positive plus side. But since the initial rollout has been delayed and there were several technical issues for students, adjustments to the deadlines have been made, including pushing back the FAFSA filing deadline for Tennessee Promise to May 15th. The U.S. Department of Ed expects to start sending 2024-25 FAFSAs to schools the first half of March. This means Aleutian will not have a final banner update to schools to fully download and award aid until March 21st, with schools not receiving that information until a week or so later. The delay means students have already begun applying to schools for fall without a clear idea of what their aid eligibility is going to be. Despite these delays, our schools have worked diligently to help students estimate their aid and prepare for the challenges. They are also ready to download aid applications and begin awarding just as soon as we're able to do so. Again, on the positive side of these changes, USDOE has also indicated there will be fewer students selected for verification this next academic year, which can severely slow down their awarding of their aid. So with fewer selected, hopefully we will be able to adjust fairly quickly and get aid given to our students as quickly as possible. But if you start to hear from, students, families, parents that they're not hearing their letters of what they're receiving, there's a real good reason for that because of the delay at the federal level. Schools are poised, they're working hard. Just as soon as Aleutian can feed this information into Banner, we will hop to it and be ready to go. But also keep your fingers crossed that the changes work technically the way that they're supposed to. We all are counting on that. But that just gives you a little idea of what our financial aid directors, what JB and all of the people at the colleges have been working through. Obviously, for our student aid people, this has been a Mount Everest to climb, and they're doing a tremendous job working on that. So congratulations and thanks to all of our people on the ground at the colleges for the great work that they're doing. And then just one more quick update about the Vol State search. We did kick that off February the 27th with orientation. Regent Reynolds is serving as the chair of this committee, along with Regent Apple, Regent Kastner, and Regent Garton, along with faculty, staff, students, and members of the community serving on the committee. The advertisement for the position was posted, and we are currently in the process of receiving those applications. The committee will meet again in April to select round one interview candidates, with the anticipation that we will have a new name, a president's name, to vote on at our June meeting and a start date of July 1st. And Madam Chair, that's all I had to say to begin with.
No, thank you very much. And thanks for that update on the FAFSA. So it sounds like we'll all be back together right about the time some of this is getting completed, and we'll have a good update at that point in time as well.
Yeah, we'll know the process by June, by our June board meeting. We'll be able to know where we are and how we're doing. And if everything did click on the dates that it was supposed to. So we're counting on that at this point. Again, there has already been 2 delays at the federal level. So we are hoping that it comes to fruition this time as planned.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the Chancellor? If not, as we all know, our state legislature, our General Assembly is busy meeting. We're in the thick of things. And with that, Executive Vice Chancellor Kim McCormick, you are coming to us with an update.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the committee and TBR staff. Yes, you are right, Regent Reynolds. We are probably a little over halfway through. We are getting word that many of the subcommittees are actually scheduling their closing. So that usually is a signal that we're getting close to the end. We have a set of bills today that we're going to go over with you all. You all received those, I believe, from Mariah this morning. Obviously, this list will change by the time the board meeting comes around, but we do want to give you an update of where we are right now. Carol Tomlinson, I believe you were going to put those up on the screen for us, if you can. Again, you have hard copies, but I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and get started, and maybe that can come up. Here we go. Thank you, Carol. So let's just dive right in. The first one we want to talk about is Senate Bill 1672. This lowers the age of eligibility for the Tennessee Reconnect Grant from 23 to 21 years of age. The legislation has passed in the Senate Ed Committee, and it will be sent to the House Higher Ed Subcommittee Scholarship Calendar, which will be heard in just a couple of weeks, so we'll know more then. Senate Bill 1752 extends the eligibility for Tennessee Promise to students attending certain private for-profit cosmetology schools, and these are particularly in Upper East Tennessee. This bill has not been calendared in the Senate yet, and it will also be delayed for consideration on the House Higher Ed Subcommittee Scholarship Calendar. So we are working hard with the sponsor on this bill, and we will have an update soon, hopefully. The Senate Bill's 1937, this legislation would create a high-value workforce readiness board that is attached to the Department of Labor. Members appointed by the governor, speakers of the House and Senate, and commissioners of ECD and Labor, and the executive director of THEC. The bill would also create a high-value workforce readiness grant program to award grants to individuals seeking training at private nonprofit technical schools. We believe this is actually a private nonprofit technical school called Tech 901 in Memphis. We have seen this bill before. It is on the calendar today in the House Business and Utilities Subcommittee, but has not been calendared in the Senate as of yet. We do know that there are some potential amendments coming from the Department of Labor, as well as from the sponsor himself. So we will be able to update you on this one in a few weeks as well. Senate Bill 2021, this legislation allows students enrolled at a community or technical college to taste alcohol as part of the course of instruction. The student cannot swallow the alcohol, and this is the sip and swirl bill, as we call it, and it has to be done under the supervision of an instructor. The student has to also be 21 years old. The bill passed the Senate State and Local Government Committee last week. It will be heard in the House Departments and Agencies Subcommittee tomorrow. We do know that Senator Reeves passed this on the Senate floor last night, so we move on to the House. I know that President Michael Torrance is very excited to get this through because this is going to greatly benefit the students in his distillery program at Motlow. Senate Bill 2061 allows a student to begin using the Tennessee Promise Scholarship in the summer immediately following high school graduation. This is something that I know our presidents have been hoping for several years. The bill has passed both the House and the Senate, and it awaits the governor's signature. Senate Bill 2102 is an administration bill coming from the Department of General Services that seeks to codify an executive order that was issued a few years back. And it was initially drafted in a way that would impact capital maintenance funding for our TCAPs, but we worked with the sponsors and the governor's legislative team on a fix. The amended legislation passed subcommittee last week and is up in House State Government Committee tomorrow, and was rolled to the final calendar in the Senate, State, and Local Government Committees. And we want to thank our own Dick Tracy for working with us to work with the administration on this bill. Senate Bill 2327 would allow high school students to be eligible to begin dual enrollment in the 9th grade. It was moved to the scholarship calendar in the House Higher Ed Subcommittee last week, and it will be heard in the Senate Ed Committee tomorrow. I'm going to say a little bit more about this bill. As you know, this is already in effect for our TCAP. Students can start in the 9th grade, but it is not the same case with the community colleges, and that's what this bill intends to correct. They're obviously not all 9th graders are ready to start dual enrollment, but some are. Because we are having some questions on it, we feel like in our whip count, we think we're good on the bill, but we just want to be safe. So Dr. Russ Deaton is going to come with us tomorrow to committee in the event there are any questions. Senate Bill 2350, this legislation establishes various prohibitions and requirements for public institutions of higher education regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think people have been calling this the DEI bill. This legislation failed yesterday in the House Higher Ed Subcommittee, so for this session, it is gone. Senate Bill 2351 requires public and private institutions of higher ed to define discriminatory practices in such institutions' anti-discrimination policies that are consistent with the definition in the Tennessee Human Rights Act. This bill was in the House Higher Ed Subcommittee calendar yesterday, but it was deferred for a week and has not been yet calendared in the Senate. So again, keeping an eye on it. Senate Bill 2528 requires THEC and each governing board of a public institution of higher ed to revise certain rules and take certain actions with respect to institutional accreditation. It also specifies that a public institution of higher ed in the state may bring a civil cause of action against an accrediting agency or association in certain circumstances. Again, we're keeping an eye on this bill, but it has yet to be calendared in either chamber. Senate Bill 2666 requires TCAPs to reserve an enrollment slot for each dual enrollment student in the term immediately following the last term in which the student was enrolled in the TCAP as a dual enrollment student, if space is available for the student at the TCAP in the program in which the student was previously enrolled. It allows the colleges to set a deadline by which the dual enrollment student must notify the colleges that they would like to continue on after high school graduation. This legislation has passed in both the House and the Senate, and it is headed to the governor's desk for signature. And I will say that this is something that most of our college presidents have already been doing in the past, because they do want those dual enrollment students, obviously, to come on to the TCAD. Senate Bill 2713 abolishes the separate governing board of directors for TSAC and designates the corporation as a division of THEC. It also revises certain duties and powers of THEC regarding capital project, academic program approvals, and binding tuition ranges. It amends amendments. There are amendments, several actually, that are proposed that do different things to this bill. So we aren't sure yet what all the final version will include. It passed through Ed Admin Committee in the House, and it will next head to Government Operations in the House. The bill has been rolled to the last calendar in the Senate, and that is in the last calendar of Senate Education. Senate Bill 2751 authorizes the Tennessee EMS Board to authorize 5 additional EMT and AEMT training centers operated by ambulance services licensed in the state. As you all know, we have been dealing with this bill in some form for several years now. Again, we've been working with sponsors, and as of yet, it has not been calendared in either chamber. That concludes our list of bills that we wanted to talk about today. Obviously, there are many more that we're watching, but these are the most important that we feel at this time to TBR. And again, this list will be definitely different by the time we get to the board meeting. But if we have no questions, do we have any questions? If not, I'll move on to a little update on the TBR President's Day on the Hill.
Any board member have questions for Kim? Before you get to that, we thank you. We know the days are long right now, and they're very busy. So we thank you and John and Patrick for all the hard work.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I will second that. I could not be more pleased than I am with Patrick and John right now. They are just amazing, and they're doing such great work. So thank you for that.
That's great.
All right. Okay, so as you all know, due to the board meeting taking place on Wednesday of SOAR this year, and SOAR being Wednesday and Thursday, the President's Day on the Hill is going to look a little different. Instead of scheduling individual visits with the legislators, we are hosting a come and go breakfast on Thursday, March 28th from 8 to 9 a.m. We've reserved space in the Legislative Library in the Capitol. For those of you who know the Capitol, it is a perfect venue for this event, because legislators have to walk right by that library to get into their respective chambers. And so we're inviting all legislators, legislative staff, and the governor's office to stop by prior to the House and Senate session that begins that morning at 9 a.m. So every member of both chambers should actually be there and available to meet with our staff and presidents and board members. We've ordered Chick-fil-A biscuits, which makes them very happy, and coffee for everyone. As you know, members typically leave to go home to their districts right after session. So it might be difficult. If you want to schedule meetings, if presidents want to schedule meetings with the members of their delegation, obviously they're welcome to try to do so. Or if they want to walk around in the actual halls of Cordell Hall during the week when they have spare time, again, welcome to do that. But most members will be gone on Thursday right after session. So, Madam Chair, this concludes our External Affairs report.
Very good. Anything else for Kim? We're all looking forward to the end of the month and the opportunities that our SOAR activities present. So thank you very much. We have an exciting initiative coming up with our TCAT faculty. And with that, why don't I turn to Vice Chancellor Reed? And I believe Arita Summers is back in the game with us, if you will. So, Jothany, why don't you take the lead and tell us about this?
Great. Good morning, Madam Chair Reynolds, Regent Apple, Chancellor Tidings, and committee chairs. I'm also joined by Dr. Rita Summers in her new role in academic affairs. She has joined me as the Associate Vice Chancellor for Leadership Development, and we're so excited to have her with us just due to her passion and expertise. And we're happy to join you and present to you our new TCAT Faculty Leadership Collaborative. Next slide, please. Chancellor Tidings has shared an incredible vision for how we will lead this state in the preparation for technical educators, and Academic Affairs has responded with the TCAT Faculty Leadership Collaborative. I am proud to introduce this collaborative, which will be an innovative multi-model professional development program focused on the technical practitioner's transformation into the technical educator, versing the best practices for excellence in teaching and student learning. TBR's currency is workforce development, and that is dependent on excellence in our technical practitioners, moving from being, say, a great welder out of industry to being supported to becoming a great educator in the classroom with the best training and resources, with effective teaching practices and strategies for how students learn, to include in-person sessions, as well as self-paced online modules customized for that new instructor. We also want to be intentional to provide ongoing professional development for our more seasoned TCAT instructors who have taught with us for a few years, who we want to ensure stay engaged in best practices. And we also recognize that many of our best practitioners join us with robust industry experience. And while they may have a high school diploma, their policy 5.02.02.10, faculty rank and promotion at TCATs, demonstrate how they could advance in promotion and rank with the inclusion of associate's degree. So we will be introducing to you the development of an exciting new associate's degree in higher education and leadership that community colleges are exploring to launch in 2025 that will support our technical educators at TCAT. This new AAS degree will be customized for the technical educator, and based on our research, will be the first of its kind in this country that will support TCAT faculty to better understand the landscape of higher education, earn their associates, and support them in the promotion process. So while Chancellor Tidings has challenged us with a model for the state for technical educators, I truly believe that this collaborative has the promise to turn the nation's interest towards Tennessee. Next slide, please. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Rita Summers to talk about the first levels of this collaborative. Both of these levels are already in existence, meaning we already provide levels 1 for the new educators and level 2 for the ongoing educator, but we have a whole new robust process. We have a team of about 10 people who are revamping this. This will launch in 2024, and then I will introduce the ongoing process in 2025 around the new associate's degree. So Dr. Summers.
Good morning, Chancellor Tidings and Regents. As Dr. Reed mentioned, the Office of Academic Affairs recognizes the need for highly developed TCAT faculty. The employment and development of these highly capable faculty members is paramount to the college's ability to properly educate and train its students. With an intense, robust program of faculty development, it is necessary to ensure faculty members are confident and capable, as well as ensuring that students learn from such educators. We believe that we have a great pool of highly qualified faculty and administrators with teaching experience, and as such, TBR has the capability to further develop its current program to a robust TCAT faculty leadership collaborative. Level 1 of the TCAT new faculty development will focus on properly onboarding and delivering foundational training. Offerings will include systematic options across the system, as well as options that can be delivered at the local campus level. Our vision is that faculty members will have increased satisfaction, employee turnover will be decreased, and student learning will be enhanced. Our approach is similar to developing any curriculum. First, we are documenting existing training and resources across all departments within academic affairs. Second, developing a schedule for continuous training delivery. Third, developing a delivery method that is conducive to such learning. Developing a tracking plan for faculty performance. And finally, providing completers with appropriate recognition. Next slide, please. Level 2 of the program will be for the seasoned practitioner with training to enhance and build upon the foundational training. There are 2 types of training currently in existence which will be enhanced. First, specific craft-related knowledge and skills. This is training that cosmetology instructors will go to their board of cosmetology for training. Machinists will receive NIMS training. This can also be done at a local campus level or systematically as a group of educators from each campus. The second type of professional development is focused on teaching and learning of knowledge and skills for the educator and the role of education. Again, this may be offered systematically across all campuses together or available in an inventory that could be delivered at the local campus level. As was mentioned previously, TCAT educators will also have the opportunity to pursue formal degrees in higher education. I will return now to Dr. Jothany Reed, who will provide details on this exciting new venture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Summers. Next slide, please. So let's talk about where the idea of a new degree customized to the needs of a technical educator came from. Next slide, please. Academic affairs is always thinking about how are we forward leaning in the work that we do? How do we know what's next in academic affairs? Every month we come in from all over the state, and twice a month we have workshops called the Idea Lab. And this is where we come together to ensure a really intentional space so that we are forward leaning strategic thought partners for TBR in the space of what is our next new academic program, our partnership, policy, and what I like to think of are possibilities. The focus of academic affairs is ensuring that we're always adding value, resources, and capacity to our TCATs and community colleges. And as part of our research, we realized that one of the opportunities was where do we provide value to our technical educators, which perfectly aligned to the Chancellor's vision of building out this robust model for technical education. And that's where this idea came from. Next slide, please. I did want to recognize the initial team that did the research around this technical AAS degree to support TCAT promotion process. Next slide, please. As they looked at the options around a degree, we looked at the AAS in higher education for the promotion process. We also looked at offering in other opportunities from a AST to embedding it in the administration area to even offering it as a technical certificate. We're going to start with the AAS because that's the one that allows in the promotion process for an opportunity and promotion and rank as the easiest lift. And so that will be the first place that we begin. Next slide, please. So as we look at the tentative timeline, we've had several meetings. First, we had the team do the research. We started with 3 community college presidents who were our think tank to go, this is the research the college has done. The system has done. Does this sound of interest? I think it is a professional term to say those community college presidents were chomping at the bits. They thought it was really innovative and they were very excited the opportunity to offer such a degree, particularly since they found out it would be the first in the nation. At that point, we brought all the community colleges together to offer it as ideas, since obviously academic affairs doesn't offer degrees, to see what the interest level would be and if they would be willing to do the work to help develop that with our support. around the capacity of that degree. And obviously, we wanted it offered online so the TCAT faculty from across the state could benefit from that. Where we are in that process is those colleges who have expressed interest. We have started initial conversations and meetings. We have done an audit to pool courses that are already start to develop that degree. We're looking to see which college will lead that work out, because one college will have to take it through the new program process. And we're still in that exploration of which college was started. We're having ongoing conversations. And again, there's lots of great synergy around that. Next slide, please. I just want to show you those colleges that are participating in that exploration. We have Chattanooga, Jackson, Roane, Columbia, Pellissippi, Southwest, Dyersburg, Northeast, and Walters are all very excited about the opportunity at developing this partnership to explore a technical AAS program customized as part of this TCAT collaborative of an AS degree. And what I really believe is that while this will be customized for technical educators in our TCATs, truly, once we develop that online degree, there's no reason why technical educators at systems outside of Tennessee could not benefit from taking this degree for their own promotion process across the country, where lots of technical educators are hired with a high school degree and robust experience who would benefit from this around the country. So again, Chancellor, while you have challenged us to create something that is innovative for Tennessee, I guarantee you this country will begin to look at us around this collaborative model. Thank you. And at this time, we will answer any questions.
Well, this is exciting. Before I ask for questions, Chancellor, do you have anything to add?
Now, I'm really extremely pleased with the work that this team has been doing. As you can see, there has been a lot of thought, energy, and effort put into it. It started with an idea of how do we provide for the faculty at the technical colleges, knowing that we've got to add more faculty to our ranks, and knowing that, as Jonathan said, many of them come to us from industry without any teaching experience. It's up to us to figure out how do we help them at the highest level. And I believe that the pathway that they've come up with here is the way to do that, and engaging our community colleges to be the providers of that instruction just made good sense. So again, a process and a plan put together by Jothny and her team that I think is just, as she said, it is going to be incredible for Tennessee, but I do think that the nation is going to be looking at us to how did we manage to do this. And getting Arita on board with someone who's had experience in this realm, has developed a teacher training program before, was just icing on the cake for us. We're so grateful for her to come back out of retirement to do this for us. So thanks to each and every one of the team.
No, that's great. I had to smile when Jothany said she wanted to introduce Arita to us. Reintroduce. That was great. Danny has her hand up.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you also to Arita, because losing her was just so sad, but bringing you back in this role is fantastic. We are so blessed to have you and be able to really use your gifts and talents in such a big way. The whole team is incredible. And this is just amazing. I am so thrilled, because we've needed to do something like this for a while, but it's just, how do you do it, and having the right people on the bus to really make this happen is, and taking our time to develop it in such a wonderful way. I'm so proud. It is really exciting. So, Arita, congratulations. Jonathan, congratulations, the whole team. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
Thank you.
And if I may, I just want to say how grateful I am for this opportunity. It is truly a position of a lifetime to be able to do the thing that I always felt was most needed and didn't have the opportunity and resources to do, and that was to support the faculty at this level. And having the opportunity to build upon the work that Dr. Reed and her team had already started with the AAS it's really just a pleasure. They're delightful, and this is just the greatest opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Tidings, for seeing the value and just allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you.
That's excellent. Anyone else? I do have one quick question. Oh, Regent Gill, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sort of getting challenged each time we come together to come up with adjectives to describe what you guys are doing and how really good it is. And I compliment you for that. But not just what this project is, but the culture that supports it. 25, 30 years ago was a book called In Search of Excellence, and it talked about how companies like 3M and others were constantly renewing themselves and staying up with the marketplace, or maybe even being ahead of it, and what that took. I do believe that we are seeing that culture developed at TBR, and all of you all. I can't say enough good things about it.
Thank
Emily?
you very much. Yes.
This is Mary Lou, and I would like to say something about the team. First of all, it's a pleasure to work with these individuals on that committee. And I think that we want to recognize Dr. Reed and all of the team for all that they're doing. And it not only helps our faculty, but anytime we raise the level of development of faculty, we raise our students, because they directly impact the entire education of our students. And that's what we work for, is how do we produce better students? And one of the greatest impacts is produce better faculty. So kudos. And hours and hours and hours. Dr. Reed doesn't talk about all those hours, but that group has been working for many, many months and hours of preparation. And to come to this level, we're very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Regent White, do you have your hand up?
I do, and I just wanted to make a point, and it comes off of a luncheon that Chattanooga State had last week. Danny was good enough to be there, and Dr. McCormick and some of her staff were there, but Bo Watson was there, and you know, Bo brought up the $1 billion being invested, and quickly went to how in some number of years going forward, how are we going to know if that's been a good investment or not? And then he immediately went to graduation rates, and there was, that kind of takes you down a rabbit hole. But the point I wanted to make in support of this is, I think it's going to be super important for us over many, many years to be able to justify the significant investment the state is making, and to be able to have programs like this that are going to support the staff, is going to support the students, is going to support the investment that the state is making, I think is going to be super important. So I just commend, what we're doing here. And I'd like to think that we're going to kind of tuck this away in our little arsenal of things that, in the future we can say that, made this $1 billion investment very much worthwhile. And it's not just, numbers or percentage of graduates or graduation rates, but it's, all of the building blocks that go into, success for this massive investment. So.
Absolutely. No, it's the point is similar between the three of you all. It all ties together in some very significant ways. So well said as well. Regent Roberts?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I would be remiss as actual faculty in the system if I didn't take the opportunity to comment and thank Dr. Reed and Dr. Summers for your leadership on this. It's really cool to work at a place where you can say, yeah, this is the first time, this is the first program in the country. Yeah, this hasn't been done before. So that's a really wonderful thing. And it's easy to take that for granted, but I just want to say thank you for just aiming for things that we've never aimed for before. So thanks.
It is cool. Well said. Anyone else? Well, thank you, Dr. Summers and Dr. Reed and Chancellor Tidings for your continued leadership. You can tell there's a great deal of enthusiasm around this, so we'll look forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
Vice Chair
Thank
Reynolds?
you. Yes.
This is Mariah. Just to
Yes.
note that Regent Burdine has just joined us.
Excellent.
Regent Burdine, can you hear? Are you on the line?
I can hear.
Good.
I'm
And
ready
also,
for your question.
yes. And are you alone in the room?
I am.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome, Regent Burdine. Glad you're here. You've had a busy morning.
Would y'all mind starting over?
Yeah. Remember, it's live streamed. You can watch the recording.
Okay.
Okay. We'll send you back that way.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you. From Finance and Business Operations, Vice Chancellor Fox has some items that will appear as consent agenda items, assuming we don't take a vote today, but assuming everyone is okay with what we're about to hear today. So listen up as she presents both some policy revisions and an item related to non-mandatory fees. Dr. Fox?
Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor, members of the board, for your time this morning. So today I am bringing to you all some recommendations related to campus fees. In advance of this meeting, you should have received copies of the policy updates to support these recommendations. Next slide, please. So first, just to give you a little history about how we got here, the comprehensive fee list was one of my first projects that I hope to tackle when I started at TBR. So it's taken me a little longer than I hoped. You know, we're about a year and a half in now. But again, really had a focus on cleaning this up a little bit. So this list is what it's titled is a comprehensive fee list. So it's a list that's maintained by the system office of all of the community college fees on the books, if you will, that the system office that the board has previously approved. So over the years, this list had just become inconsistent and inaccurate through a combination of issues, including a lack of clarity on the differences between fee types, when and how these fee types are requested, and who approves them. So in the summer of 2023, I presented this topic to our Business Affairs Sub-Council, or BASC, if you will, and began initial discussions on ways to improve the process. So the outcomes we hope to achieve from this project included more accurate data, standardization around names, categories, and amounts of fees, as well as clarity around the request and approval process. Next slide, please. On this slide, you'll see the timeline of this work, beginning with our initial discussions in July 23. We had a work session in October, some campus homework in December, some TBR homework in January, and then final feedback and approval by BASC in our late January 24 meeting. In addition, these recommendations were presented as informational items at the Joint Student Affairs and Academic Affairs Subcouncils in January, as well as approved by the presidents at their February quarterly meeting. Next slide, please. This slide is simply a summary of the outcome of our mandatory fee discussions. We discussed all current mandatory fees as part of our working group and chose to leave many as is, except for the program service fee, which the group agreed to standardize at a proposed amount of $25 per semester. The current average among all schools was $15.15, the lowest being $8 at Northeast and the highest being $27 at Motlow. In addition, only two schools, Vol State and Pellissippi, were currently charging the sustainable campus fee, and both agreed to eliminate this fee during that discussion. Due to the impact of the binding tuition range set by THEC in May, the group is recommending to bring the program service fee standardization at the June board meeting. However, the sustainable campus fee is being presented this month because the elimination of a mandatory fee only positively factors into tuition decisions. Next slide, please. So moving on to the bulk of where the recommended changes occur, and those are in our non-mandatory fees. As you will recall, non-mandatory fees are fees that are not charged to every student. Those are program or activity specific. So on your screen, you're going to see a lot of recommendations. We did a lot of tedious work and a lot of hours looking at these lists and analyzing every fee. So starting with the recommendation at the top, we're recommending to consolidate the number of course or program specific fee categories from 2 to 1. Rather than having a specialized academic fee and a miscellaneous course fee, the recommendation is to have one non-mandatory course or program fee titled the miscellaneous course fee. Recommendation 3 is to define this new fee category and explain what supporting documentation is expected with the new fee request. These definitions are included in the clean copy of the policies you received in your materials. Recommendation 4 would consolidate the number of non-course specific fee categories from 3 to 1, rather than having fines and penalties, textbooks, and miscellaneous incidental fees. The recommendation is to have one non-course specific fee titled miscellaneous incidental fee. Recommendation 5 is to define this new non-course or program specific category and explain what supporting documentation is expected with the new fee request. Recommendation 6 is to reinstate the online course fee that's been suspended during the pandemic. The recommendation is to reinstate this fee at a standard rate of $25 per credit hour. For context, 6 of the 9 universities, including UT and the LGIs, but not UT Southern, charge an online course fee. The average of those is $55.17 a credit hour. This is being requested, understanding that online course delivery does come with additional cost related to software and technology needs, as well as faculty course development expenses. Recommendation 7 is that TCATs be included in the current process, which is only followed by the community colleges. In the past, there has not been a formal process for TCATs to request new fees, and these fee requests have been submitted to various departments at various times, and we'd like to clean that up. Recommendation 8 is to rename some already approved and active fees at the community colleges to decrease the number of same type fees with slightly different names. An example of this would be, we had 3 schools charging an art course related fee, but 2 had named it art course materials fee, while the other had named it general art student fee. The recommendation is one naming convention for all like fees. The final recommendation is to remove fees from the current comprehensive list that no colleges are currently charging. We have approximately 18 of these fees that were also included in your materials. Next slide, please. This slide is a chart of all the non-mandatory fee requests received for the community colleges for FY 2025. You will see in the top section that 10 of our 13 community colleges requested to establish or unfreeze the online course fee that I previously mentioned at the $25 a credit hour rate. You will notice for 2 colleges, this results in a decrease noted in red. The annual revenue generated is an estimate based on the FY23 online credit hour average per school provided by our TBR data team. On the lower half of the table, you will see that Nashville State is requesting to establish an applied music fee at $75 a credit hour. 10 of our 13 colleges currently charge this fee. Nashville State currently operates these courses at a loss and would like to implement this fee to recover some cost for private lessons and independent study courses. Southwest has 3 current fee increase requests. One for the HESI exam, which they are also requesting a name change to nursing exam fee from $47 to $50 a credit hour. They are also requesting to increase their nursing course fee and allied course fee by $5 a credit hour. All 3 increases are based on increased cost of consumables. Southwest is also requesting to eliminate 2 fees, including the nursing lab fee and the culinary lab fee. You will see those reductions listed in red on the table. Next slide, please. Lastly, you have the policy updates in your materials. This was a true group effort between Jonathan Button on the student side, Brian Lapps in the Office of General Counsel, and then my office in finance, with reviews by our Business Affairs Subcouncil, Student Affairs, and Academic Affairs Subcouncils. The major policy updates are as follows for the community colleges. Policy 4.01.03.00. Some language was updated to provide clarity, and some sections were deleted and replaced with references to other policies if possible, to reduce the length of this policy. Our group completed a rule review recently to accompany this policy, and some of the terms were different between the rules and the policy. Those have been updated for consistency. The most notable change is the adding of the fee definitions, as noted earlier, and providing clarity on supporting documents needed to accompany new requests. The TCAT policy 4.01.03.10 was updated with the same minor changes as noted for the community college policy, as well as removing the 14-day purge language. Given that TCAT's continuous enrollment format, this practice was impractical and impossible for them to implement. This policy was a copy over of the community college language and has been updated to reflect TCAT's actual processes. Next slide, please. And the final slide discusses the timeline for next steps. As noted earlier, our team has worked on the policy updates associated with all these recommendations, and those policies and recommendations will be on the consent agenda at the March meeting. The mandatory fee request will be presented in June, as is customary. Madam Chair, this concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions related to these recommendations or the corresponding policy updates. I know it was a lot of tedious information, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you. And you guys have already been through the tedious process of this cleanup effort. So thank you for the attention and making it a priority. Hey, Alicia, at the bottom line, and obviously we'll take up the mandatory fees themselves in June, but the bottom line is with this streamlining and cleaning up, I know you all were mindful of this every step of the way, but the impact on students, the $25 for the online, I understand what that is about, but the bottom line impact on our students may be what's weighing on everyone's mind.
Sure. Yeah. And we eliminated quite a few fees in this process. Again, some of those you won't really see when we approved the mandatory fee. So the sustainable course fee is a mandatory fee that was charged to every student. So by eliminating those, that'll be an elimination to those students at those two colleges specifically. On the program service fee, there will be some it'll kind of balance itself out. There will be some by going with the standardized rate that will increase their program service fee, and some will lower their program service fee to go to a standard number. On the non-mandatory side, especially for the online course fee, looking at that, we did have the two colleges that were previously charging it before the pandemic, and the new standardized rate is lower than what they were charging previously. So I did look those numbers up specifically, and for that reduction, it would be about $180 less for those online students under the new fee rate. Again, there are schools, I think, 3 that this will be a new fee for them. So that will be an increase. But again, only impacting students that might be taking an online course, and really, very minimal. If you're taking 1 3-hour course, they're going to see $75 for that course related to online fees.
Chancellor, you had some context to add, it appears.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to remind everyone that during COVID, we actually suspended the online fee. We were able to supplant the dollars that the college, had been receiving with the federal dollars that we got during that time. But after a lot of discussion, Alicia, and with the colleges, we've also had a downturn in their performance funding this year because of the downturn in enrollment with the community colleges. So we needed to balance out a little bit better. We also, what the real exercise here was to try and get consistency across the state. It was bothersome that we had, one college charging one fee and then the college right next door was charging a different fee. Our students are quite mobile, in their online activities. So we needed to have consistency across the state. And thanks to Alicia, this was a huge task. Yeah. This discussion started with Danny, but Alicia came in and picked it up and grabbed the reins and said, I'm going to get this taken care of. And so I cannot thank her enough for looking at this and trying to bring consistency with, the committee and the team, making sure that we are being fair to our students and that we're not charging them something that is an antiquated fee, which they did realize we had some. Sometimes you just keep doing what you've always done, and we didn't want to be there. We wanted to make sure that it was relevant and important to be charged, and I feel like we're in a really good spot now with where we are with fees, trying to hold them to the least amount possible.
Oh, no, that's great. Thank you. Very helpful. Anybody else have a question for Dr. Fox? All right. And as always, I will, if you have something offline that comes up, I know she's always available to answer any questions that we might have along the way. So, but thank you for this. Again, as Chancellor reflected, it is a lot of work. And I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Vice Chair Reynolds, if I can, one more thing quickly, just a little surprise. I will also be bringing in at the March board meeting on the agenda are the financial performance data for all the schools. So that'll be in your board materials. But spoiler, we did great this year. Both sectors had a great year. So we're looking at increased CFI and unrestricted net assets. But I will be bringing you full details at the March board meeting. So something to look forward to there. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. That is indeed something to look forward to. Thank you very much. Well done. Chancellor, we've referenced the March meeting now several times. Tell us what's coming up.
Yes, absolutely. We are very excited about the March 27th board meeting. A copy of the agenda was included in your materials with today's meeting. Our meeting will be at the central office and will begin at 1 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock that evening, we'll be hosting the SOAR reception at the Country Music Hall of Fame. Again, a little different than last year. We're excited about being in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And I'm sure many of you saw my email regarding the Sheraton and what has happened there. And to say that Matthew might have had a couple of gray hairs before this happened. Right now, I'm sure that he's had to follow my lead and gone out and found something in a box to cover the ones that turn gray since he got this news. The Sheraton is unable to host SOAR. They've had structural issues, and so we don't want to be in their building at this moment in time as much as they are not able to have us there. We are very close to finalizing the agreement with another downtown hotel. I will tell you that the Sheraton, they didn't just leave us high and dry. They stepped in. They're working with us. But as you can imagine, there are some legal T's to cross and I's to dot. So I'm not going to announce the hotel today. I'll have that out for you as soon as we've signed it. But we're very confident that it is moving forward and that we'll be fine. At least Matthew tells me that every morning. So I'm sure that we will be. But if you have any further questions about the board meeting or SOAR, if you'll just reach out to me or to Mariah, we will have the new location and all of the new information to you. Mariah has already taken care of the room reservations and changing everything over to the other hotel, so you won't have to worry about that. You'll just need to know which location to come to when we have it. But it's that theory. If something can go wrong, it might go wrong. And we are going to make it be a wonderful event this year.
No doubt. Thank you very much. Well, you guys, unless anybody has any other questions or comments, that concludes our morning business, with apologies to Chairman Burdine for running just a few minutes behind. I will adjourn this meeting. But stay tuned. We're not going anywhere, as I will now turn the meeting over to Chairman Burdine for our Audit Committee meeting. Thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Call the meeting of the Audit Committee to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
I'd be glad to. Since this is an electronic meeting, There are 2 questions that need to be answered by regents for the record. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both questions. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. When I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. I'll start with our audit committee members, and then we'll check to see if any other regents are opting to remain on the line. Regent Apple.
Yes to both questions.
Chairman Burdine.
Yes to both questions.
Regent Kastner.
Yes to both questions.
And Regent White.
Excuse me. Here and yes to both.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum. I'll check for other regents remaining on the line or who may have joined us. Governor Lee, Regent Garten.
Here and yes.
Regent Garten, is that yes to both questions?
Sorry, yes to both.
Thank you. Regent Gentile. Regent George.
Here, yes to both questions.
Regent Gill. Commissioner Hatcher. Regent Hooper. Regent Pilkington. Regent Powers.
Here and yes to both.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Here and yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Roberts.
Here, and I do have my 8-year-old daughter set up on the other end of the room.
Thank you. Regent Stevenson. Regent Spurgeon. And Regent Barlin.
Here and Phoebe's close by.
Thank you. Mr.
Yes
Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, we're clear to proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. This meeting is being held electronically as it is the most economically efficient way. The matters to be considered require timely action and review by the audit committee. Given that the necessity to meet electronically is a non-controversial and routine item, I propose that the necessity be adopted by unanimous consent. Anyone who wants to have individual votes on the necessity to meet electronically should feel free to object, in which case we'll have a roll call vote. If there's no objection to the necessity to meet electronically as adopted, is there any objection? Hearing none, the necessity is adopted. Let's move to informational reporting. Mike, you're up. You have the microphone.
Thank you, Chair Burdine. Thank you, Audit Committee members and other regents, and thank you to system-wide audit staff and campus auditors. I want to start again with recommendations and finding logs. Not much in terms of recommendations today to update. There are a couple of older ones that I do want to point out. At Jackson State, there are 2 a little bit older recommendations related to VA, and since that position is vacant, Jackie in our office is working on following up on those. We think those are probably cleared, but just haven't seen enough yet to check those off. And then at Southwest, there's a couple of older recommendations that we're working on also to verify those are likely cleared also, but don't show up in the log as cleared. If there are any questions, anytime if there are any questions, please stop me and ask. But that's the only things I wanted to point out on the recommendation logs, and then I'll move into the other internal audit and external reports. We had 2 miscellaneous external reviews this time around. At Southwest, the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security did a driver education program monitoring review, and congratulations to Southwest. They had no findings. That's usually a pretty stringent review. So glad they came away with no recommendations or findings there. TCAT Shelbyville, TSAC did a financial aid review. They had 2 minor issues there that were corrected during the review, and TSAC accepted their responses for those. Next, we'll move into the comptroller's audits and reports. The only comptroller's financial compliance audit we had this time was Jackson State for fiscal years 22 and 21. And congratulations to Jackson State, no findings this time, so great work by them, and always glad to see that. Congratulations there. Next up, something a little bit different this time in terms of comptroller reports. As many of you are aware, they did a review of the Tennessee Promise program, the Comptroller's Office of Research and Educational Accountability. Although it's not a TBR specific report, we felt like it was critical to everything TBR does, that we present this report to you for your information. I believe we sent out I think it was an 8-page executive summary and 1-page snapshot. The complete report is 87 pages. I don't think we sent that out, but if you would like that, let us know and we'll get that to you. I suggest you read it. It's very informative, very important. I'm going to cover some highlights here and just touch it lightly. The details in the report are great. Again, excellent information, and I can't do it justice here, but do want to cover some of their recommendations and observations that they had. The report measures the success of the Tennessee Promise program, of course, through the two main objectives, college access and completion. They did a evaluation using quantitative and qualitative data, many from THEC there. Of course, they measured access by the college going rates, the percentage of high school graduates who attended college the following fall semester. And then they measured completions, of course, by credit hour accumulation, fall-to-fall retention, and degree attainment. They analyzed the performance on those also by different student groups from different racial, gender, geographic, and socioeconomic subgroups. And again, all of that data is included in the report. But in addition to measuring the success of the program, it goes further by measuring the processes that students must follow to become Promise eligible, as well as to maintain their eligibility once they've attained the Promise. And that's very important. And they came across with several recommendations there. They looked at the Promise application, college application process, FAFSA, which was discussed in the earlier meeting, the filing rates there, mandatory meeting attendance, community service requirements, and post-secondary enrollment and requirements for maintaining the Promise scholarship. A few key conclusions. I want to kind of jump ahead to that. And again, I encourage you to read the report if you can. Some of the key conclusions they had: Promise students earn more credits, are retained, and earn awards at higher rates than students who enroll but are not Promise eligible. Next, a Promise student at a community college may pay over $1,000 in out-of-pocket expenses, while at a TCAT, a student may pay up to $3,100 in out-of-pocket expenses that are not covered by the Tennessee Promise, which covers, again, tuition and mandatory fees. Most students at community colleges, especially nursing students, do not complete a terminating degree within the program's 5-semester limit. Again, as you know, for community colleges, the Promise is good for 5 semesters, at TCATs for 8 trimesters. The most common reason applicants are not initially eligible for Promise is a failure to meet the initial community service requirement deadline, which you have to have your 8 hours reported by July 1st prior to enrolling. Next, family and work responsibilities contribute to students losing Promise once they are enrolled. And they found also a limited awareness of completion grants among both officials and students at the colleges. And completion grants help with non-mandatory fees like books, transportation, housing, and some other miscellaneous course fees. That is a pilot program now, the completion grants, that is administered by THEC through Tennessee Achieves and the AIRS Foundation. The report also mentioned several recommendations or policy options. The first of those is to make the application process more efficient. Both TSAC and TBR should explore ways to combine the promise application and college applications. I understand we're in early conversations with THEC and TSAC to do that, to get that ball rolling. But the report mentions that I think about 91% of promise students are through our colleges, and so that would make a great efficiency for the students as well as the whole overall process in the colleges if that could be combined in some way. They also offered several suggestions for the General Assembly. To start with, to improve affordability, the Assembly could expand the reach for for Tennessee Promise dollars, or guarantee a minimum promise payment to cover some of those non-mandatory fees, books, things like that. That would free up the completion grants and other aids such as Pell to cover housing, transportation, food, and those type expenses. To increase community college credential attainment, the General Assembly could extend Tennessee Promise eligibility for some or all community college students. For example, one example they gave was nursing. If the promise was extended to an additional semester, that it would really help those nursing students, increase percentages of them that do attain their degree under the Promise program. To increase the number of applicants who become Promise students initially, the General Assembly could eliminate the initial community service requirement. That seems to be a stumbling block, a major stumbling block for a lot of students coming into the program, is getting those community service hours in before the July 1st deadline. My understanding, this would not eliminate community service requirements once they're enrolled in the program, just the initial eligibility. Let's see, I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. To improve attention and completion, the General Assembly could adjust a continuous full-time enrollment requirement. Currently, the requirement is, except for summers, for students to maintain full-time enrollment. This proposal that the Comptroller's Office had would give a one-semester reprieve where the student could be less than full-time, would not get the Promise scholarship, but would not lose eligibility either. And that when they came back to full-time, they would still be eligible to keep the Promise scholarship, but that would be a one-semester reprieve from full-time enrollment based on the Comptroller's suggestion. And then last, the Tennessee Promise partnering organizations, the AIRS Foundation and Tennessee Achieves, should consider providing more training to volunteer Promise mentors. That they did find sort of a lack of awareness for the completion grants throughout students and administrators. So that would help there. Again, that's a very brief summary of a very thorough report. And again, I can't recommend enough that you take the time to look at that. Before I move on, since that was such a mouthful, any questions on that report before moving forward?
I have one, if you don't
Yes,
mind. So when the Comptroller's Office talks about the challenges in graduating from the nursing program, I think I understand that we really offer 3 training programs. I think we have a CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant program, I think is 1. Licensed Practical Nursing is 2, and Registered Nursing is the 3rd. And
Yes,
they don't delineate, where the problem is across those 3 programs. Did they share that with you, or do I need to just dig with them, or what's the best way to get at that?
No, so they did not delineate that. They just covered nursing in general terms, the nursing program in general terms. I wouldn't have those numbers, and don't know that they do either. Whether couldn't speak for them whether they looked in detail and just didn't cover that or not. But
okay, all right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Kastner.
Regent Burdine, if I may, and this may be more for the Chancellor and the team as well. Has there been any traction from this report or any activity out of the General Assembly just yet as a result of these conclusions or recommendations?
There really hasn't been any action taken at this point, but we've certainly shared this with them because we wanted to. It's a great report. It's a very positive report for Tennessee Promise. So we did want them to see it is working. I know that several weeks ago we had a legislator that wanted to know something about Tennessee Promise, and so it was extremely timely that we were able to take this report to them and say it's a positive outcome, and we had the third-party independent verified report to show them that. So again, it's a very useful tool for us because the audit, state audit put this together. I'm thrilled that it is so positive. There has been some talk several years ago that Promise wasn't really paying off, and there were some negatives about it, but Promise is paying off. It is making a difference in the lives of Tennesseans, and this report is very, very clearly showing that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Chancellor, do you anticipate any of those recommendations happening?
I think that we will all take those recommendations and look at them and see what we can do to make it better.
Okay, because they're good recommendations.
They are. They are. Where they saw the weak spots is where the recommendations came from. So again, I think it makes good sense. I think with some of the changes that are happening with THEC, that will determine some of these changes and what happens. But the water is swirling at the moment, and we'll just have to see how this plays out. It will be to the advantage, I think, of everyone, though.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else? If you encourage you to read the report, Mike went over it kind of quickly there. But anybody else? Mike, back to you.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. Next up are federal audits. Just a couple of those this time around. First, Roane State had a Department of Defense voluntary education compliance survey. That one went very well. They completed the review with no recommendations. So congratulations to Roane on that. Usually those come out with some recommendations, so great news there. Next, Southwest had a Department of Veterans Affairs benefits certification review. They had 2 errors with 2 students, but the college corrected those during the review. So again, relatively minor issues there at Southwest for that. Next up, we'll cover our internal audit reports. Several of those to cover today, and I'll kind of go through those quickly. First up is Chattanooga State had a NACHA audit, the National Association of National Automated Clearinghouse Association security audit. Tongue twister there. There's 2 recommendations there which are relatively easy to correct. One of them was that they review the TouchNet, which is the processing software for payments, in short, SOC reports in a timely manner. That can be a little bit difficult because those reports are sort of relying on the company, say TouchNet or whoever, to get those reports out and published, and so sometimes there's a waiting period there. Also, there's a recommendation that disaster recovery testing be done, and that the college's plan be revised on lessons learned during the testing for disaster recovery. Northeast State completed their HERF audit of their HERF information with no findings, no recommendations there. So congratulations to Northeast on that. Next up, TCAT Oneida, Huntsville, Veterans Affairs Benefit Certification. Just really one administrative recommendation there that they establish a review process for someone independent of the Veterans Affairs specialist to review their work behind them, which is a very logical recommendation and relatively easy to fix. Next up, Southwest, follow-up to their investigation on club and organization funds. They determined that adequate corrective actions have been taken, disciplinary actions were taken, and so that one is closed now. Again, for Southwest, follow up on the college work study audit, that's been sort of an ongoing thing. Some of the recommendations are still outstanding. Jackie and I will be following up on those. Again, should not be very difficult to fix. Easy for me to say since it has been an ongoing problem at Southwest, but we're hopeful that this time around it'll be fixed there. A couple of investigations I want to bring to your attention, both at TCAT Chattanooga. First of all, 2306 was massage therapy tips. Here we had instructors who were collecting cash tips for students and putting that money in their own bank account. Not a lot of money there, but again, of course, violations of policy. They were using the money to pay for Health Education Systems Incorporated, otherwise known as HESI tests for the students. One of the instructors kept very good records and showed where they had paid that. They did provide receipts for the purchases. Another instructor, not so much, but we didn't see where there was a lot of money potentially missing. It looked like most of it went where it was intended, although they did violate policy in doing this and really didn't have a good system for doing it. There were 6 recommendations that came out of that report. I won't go into those in detail, but obviously some corrections to be made with that. One of the instructors is no longer with the college, so make that note. Next up for Chattanooga, this was combined of 2 investigations regarding hair braiding and hair shows. In Birmingham, there's an annual Birmingham Hair Show that the students from the students paid the fees directly to a representative of the hair show. At COVID, that changed, and the instructors started collecting money and paying that all at once for the students. Put the money either through a cash app or their own bank account. Again, inappropriate, not allowed. We did not have any complaints that students paid the money but didn't get their tickets. So we didn't think there was indications of money missing, just a very bad plan in handling this. The next one involved the same instructor. A little more concerning is a hair braider certificate. As part of the cosmetology program at our colleges, the curriculum covers the requirements to achieve a hair braid certificate. However, that certificate is issued by the State Department of Commerce and Insurance, not the college. And the students can go to Department of Commerce and Insurance and get that certificate on their own. At Chattanooga, we had, that we know of, 2 night students in cosmetology programs said that they paid the instructor to get those certifications and that they did some of the training through the instructor's personal salon, which the instructor had not disclosed as outside employment either. Again, we're stressing training for employees in how to handle money or not handle money when they're not allowed. Again, disciplinary action was taken. That instructor is no longer with the college. But again, this seems to be sort of a recurring problem every year or so at one college or another. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Let's see, moving ahead, next up, just our general section of audit reports and summaries. I have covered, again, federal, internal audits, and comptrollers reports. You have all of those reports and the details in your materials. If anyone had any questions on those, I'd be glad to pull those out and answer any of those questions. Okay, seeing none, I'll move ahead. System-wide internal audit updates. A few here. First, want to announce for our internal audit director open positions, we have a new open position now. Charlotte at Southwest Community College has retired from her position, and we wish Charlotte the best. Congratulations on her retirement, and wish her happiness going forward, and appreciate her 10 years of service to Southwest there. However, that gives us one more opening now for a total of 5 that we're still trying to fill. A little good news there is some of you may remember Angie Brown. She was the internal auditor at Jackson for quite a while. She retired several years ago, and she has agreed to come back on a part-time basis to help Dr. Cook at Dyersburg with internal audit duties. A temporary fix there, but glad to have her. Very experienced, very knowledgeable, qualified, and so glad to have Angie back helping there. We have had several applicants already at Southwest. Haven't had a chance to review that yet, so that's good that we're getting applicants there. In trying to fill these positions, we're working on initiatives. I talked to Chancellor Tidings a few weeks ago. She had some ideas I think are good. Jackie and I are kind of working on some different things to kind of think outside the box to get some of these positions filled as we can, including bringing somebody like Angie in, at least on a part-time basis, to help us out. In the meantime, we're working with the college presidents to make sure that we give them the coverage they need. Jackie is working on several HERF audits right now, which if you've ever done a HERF audit, Jackie may not be real happy with me at this point, but I appreciate her giving the coverage there. And again, we're trying to come up with different initiatives to fill those. I mentioned before our salary study plan. The consultant is working on that now. Hopefully that helps at least ensure that we're in the right place in terms of our salary ranges with the competitors we have. I mean, partners in our work, but competitors for talent, and we may be lagging behind there. So that will help us determine that. Next up on that is risk assessments. We sent out the risk assessment information, Chancellor Tidings did last week, to the college presidents. That process is going to be very much the same as it has been the last couple of years. We tweaked it a little bit to provide a little more information that we think we need to do to make sure we're doing a due diligence, but hopefully not a lot more effort on the colleges. The community college risk assessments will be due to our office at the end of May, and the TCATs we're looking at probably the end of December for those to be completed. So that process is underway, and we'll be providing you all that in the summer, at least for the community colleges. Let's see, next up, university updates. As required for the comptroller's audits, based on the board's continued fiduciary duty, we will provide you with comptroller reports on the LGIs. The only one this time is for the TSU Foundation for fiscal year 21, and they had no findings. So congratulations to their foundation for that. And Regent Burdine, that completes my information for section 1.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, these are all informational items, require no action, but we'll move on to the next section, back to our Chief Audit Executive.
Thank you, sir. Revisions to audit plans. There are a few significant revisions, but only significant in terms of changing hours in the plans. Nothing that really grabs your attention. Just some shifting plans from one audit to the other. Say at Chattanooga State, adding an auto service efficiency consultation and a comp time review. Northeast kind of shifted a couple of audits they're doing, and then adding a couple of investigations that weren't previously in the plan. So again, any other revisions were minor. These are not anything that are of concern. They're pretty routine for the audit process throughout the year. And Regent Burdine, that's all I have, unless there are questions on that before the vote.
Any questions? Hearing none, this does require a roll call vote. So, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Chair,
I'm
we
sorry,
will need a
we
motion and a
need
second.
I'm sorry, we need a motion and a second first. Yeah, thank you.
So
Can I
moved.
get a motion? Was that Tom?
Yeah, that was me, Tom.
Okay, and second.
Second, Mary Lou.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we'll do the roll call vote.
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Chairman Burdine,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
and Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's move back to Mike for review of internal audit charters.
Thank you, sir. Only one charter up this time is we have new auditors and new presidents. We get a fresh charter signed, and in this case for Vol State, Nancy had Dr. Deaton sign a new charter there for his role as interim president. Again, no changes to the charter, just interim president signing the charter. So I'll present that for your review and approval.
Thank you, sir. This does require a vote, so I need a motion and a second, please.
Move for approval.
I'll second, Tom.
Thank you, gentlemen. And roll call vote. Madam Secretary.
Regent Apple,
Aye.
Chairman Burdine,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. This concludes the agenda for the public session. Unless anyone has any further business to come before the committee, the public portion of this meeting stands adjourned.
Hey.
Thank you for everyone for your time. The public session is concluded. Board members, board officers. Pardon?
Chairman, I just wanted to make one comment regarding Mike Batson's work on risk assessment. Again, I just want to congratulate him on the great work that he did on this. We have been tweaking that risk assessment for at least the last 7 years, trying to get it to a streamlined, reasonable approach for the campuses. And Mike has been so diligently trying to make it the best it can possibly be. And I think this version that we have this year is one of the very best. And so I want to congratulate Mike and the team for continuing to work to make it a usable tool for the campus and not just an exercise for the campus. And I think we're there. So Mike, thank you so much for all the work that y'all have done on that.
Thank you, Chancellor. I appreciate that. And I do want to recognize Jackie also. Since she's come on, she's been a tremendous help with that and my second set of eyes in looking at that and finding the holes that I've missed. So I appreciate Jackie also. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you, Chancellor. Well said. Very well said. Okay, so now we have adjourned and we're moving into the non-public session, and you